and welcome to iNurture videos. In this video, we will discuss how to select the appropriate edition of Windows Server 2012. At the end of this video, you will be able to identify the editions of Windows Server 2012, describe the key factors for selecting a Windows Server 2012 edition. Microsoft has released 4 editions of Windows Server 2012 based on the utilization needs of the users. These editions include Windows Server 2012 Data Center Edition, Windows Server 2012 Standard Edition, Windows Server 2012 Essential Edition, and Windows Server 2012 Foundation Edition. With these many editions available, how can you decide the most appropriate edition for your network? Well, there are some selection factors that will help you to understand the edition of Windows that you should use. The 4 key selection factors are the edition feature, server support roles, supporting server virtualization, and licensing structure provided by the edition. First, we will discuss about the edition feature. Each edition of Windows Server has some very specific features. Based on the key features provided by the different editions of the Windows Server 2012, you can decide which edition is suitable for your network. Let's take an example. You are setting up a network of a small office what would have about 10 people connected. They would be using very limited features of the server, basically just accessing and saving file. Virtualization is also not really required. In this case, you would select the Windows Server 2012 Foundation Edition. Let's take another scenario where an organization is setting up a data center which would cater to around 10,000 employees. There would be constant transfer and access of data requiring a highly available infrastructure. It is looking at installing around 50 virtual machines and also use Hyper-V to create a virtualized server computing environment. In this case, the Windows Server 2012 Data Center Edition will be suitable. You can also base your decision on the selection of the appropriate edition based on the server roles available within each edition. Some of the server roles that you should consider for your decision include Active Directory Certificate Services, ADCS, Active Directory Domain Services, ADDS, Active Directory Lightweight Directory Services, ADLDS, Active Directory Rights Management Services, ADRMS, Application Server, Failover Clustering, Network Load Balancing, Network Policy and Access Services, DHCP Server, DNS Server, File Services. So, how would you decide considering the server roles? Let's take an example. If you are looking at implementing all of these server roles for a setup required for 100 user setup with 1 VM, then you should select the Windows Server 2012 Standard Edition. Next, let's discuss how the supporting server virtualization impacts the selection decision. Hyper-V provides integration between the local system and the virtual machine. Some operating systems have the integration services as the built-in features, whereas in some other operating systems you would need to install or upgrade this as a separate feature. So if you decide to use Windows Server 2008 with Server Pack 2, you would install the integration services after you set up the operating system in the virtual machine. Lastly, the licensing structure can help you decide the apt Windows Server edition to select. If you are looking at a small setup such as the office we saw earlier, you can go for the server-based licensing model provided by the Windows Server 2012 Foundation Edition. Similarly, if it is a big data center setup with many servers and virtual machines, it would be more appropriate to go for client access licenses or CALS, which is a commercial software license that allow clients to connect to server software and use their services. Let us have a quick recap on what we discussed. Microsoft has released 4 editions of Windows Server 2012 based on the utilization needs of the users. Windows Server 2012 Data Center Edition, Windows Server 2012 Standard Edition, Windows Server 2012 Essential Edition, and Windows Server 2012 Foundation Edition. The factors that impact the selection of a Windows Server Edition include edition features, server support roles, supporting server virtualization, and licensing structure provided by the edition. Thank you for watching this video.